What was Paul Wight like when you worked with him, the Giant?
I said it in the beginning. He'd never be anything. He ain't got no heart. No heart. Has he been anything up there? Nothing. He thinks he's a giant. All he is a fat basketball player. That's all he is. He'll never be the Andre the Giant. I can tell you that.
What were your thoughts when you were told that Russo was coming in to replace Eric Bischoff? And did you agree with that?
With the stuff that they've done up there with the women and the nudity, the cursing, the alcohol and all that stuff they do on there, TBS, that's a family station. And that's one of the reasons why it's not there no more, because you can't do some of these things. They aren't going to allow it. And that's all he was doing. Man, it was a shock. It was shock TV, Try to do something that would shock them, to get them off. I don't know what it was, but I know it didn't work because he didn't, I never heard of the guy.
Right.
Where do you hear these people from? And the way it was with him, as if he did the WWF. Well, I doubt that very seriously. Vince is not going to give somebody that kind of power. And if he does, you saw what he did to him, didn't you?
How would you compare the two, Bischoff and Russo?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how to tell you that. I don't have anything to say about either one of them that would be good.
How much were you involved in a day-to-day operations during this time, or were you just consumed with the power plant?
Power plant. At one time, I was, I was on the booking committee, but my thinking and my logic wasn't what they do now is what's right's wrong and what's wrong's right. I can't. I know what the ultimate end's going to be. I knew it.
Right.
And I didn't want to be a part of it. And that's when I got the opportunity to take the power plant and take it to another level. I took it. The good Lord was looking out for me.
Whose idea was it to bring you back for the angle with Terry Funk and Larry Zbyszko? And were you into it?
No. Just, because there again now, I'd go to the shows and we had the people that started chanting my name in some of these places just for me looking out there in the back and, shoot, I went a couple places and got a heck of a, better than the guys that were there.
Right.
It freaked them out, Chicago and some of those towns, but they failed to realize what, at that time, the WWF, that I was so strong there. I mean, they still remember in a lot of these big cities, especially up, north in here, in the fan mail. Here I was getting a lot of fan mail and stuff after the 2020 and behind closed door with Joan London and all that. I was getting all kind of stuff. And I think that had something to do with it. That could help them ratings. But I shouldn't have done it. I didn't want to do it. But, one thing about your office, whenever they ask you to do something, you do it. Especially there because, everybody was kind of concerned about their jobs.
Right.
People were being fired and let go and this and that. And I shouldn't have never done it. But, I got a family to feed. I got bills like everybody else.
How were you affected as a trainer in the power plant as the constant turning of bookers from Russo to Bill Bush to Bischoff? And then back to Russo again.
Yeah. It's just a sad, sad whole thing. The power plant, they were so desperate now that, they needed some new faces. And the power plant, Russo did, towards the end, he started realizing that some of these kids that we had were pretty dead gum good, and they were. There was a few of those kids out there with a look, and you got to realize some of these kids were put on TV that was there with me for about 7, 8, 9 months. They hadn't even been into really had a match, and they came out and did a pretty dead gum good job. Of course, I had to be there with them, and I'd fly to the town with them, and but it could have been something really good. I mean, and it was. I mean, some of them it worked. Some of them, I thought they did a good job for being the situation the way it is now, to know where to go to learn your trade, and they did about as good as you could get without the pressure that they were under, being on TV first time, and I think some of them did a pretty darn good job.
If Vince didn't buy the company, do you think he'd still be there?
Me?
As a trainer at the power plant?
Oh, yeah.
Bischoff's?
Oh, yeah. But see, he wasn't my boss no more.
Right.
He ain't nothing over me. That's why I got out. I knew. That's why I got out. He wasn't my boss.
Oh, the power plant was separate?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He had nothing to do with me. I talked to him the way I wanted to, and did.
Were you at the last WCW taping?
No.
Okay, you weren't there.
No.
Who or what do you think ruined WCW? Just all the politics?
Well, it's just everything. I think who run them was Vince McMahon. Worrying about, I was always taught this, never worry about your competition. Don't worry about your competition. You start worrying about him, you're going to be worrying less about yourself. And I think that's what that had a lot to do with it. Was they just, for some reason, that's all it was about, was that. And if they just did their own deal at their own speed, they had plenty of money to do it with, had plenty of talent, I wouldn't even have messed with them. I would have done just the opposite of what Vince was doing, is what I would have done. Just about the opposite.
Did you watch the invasion angle?
Did
you watch the invasion angle on WF? They did? No.
I'll be honest with you. I really hadn't sat down and watched a show probably in 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
I can't watch it. I'm sorry, I can't watch it. I ain't going to say that I flipped and watched it for a couple of minutes. If I was lucky, I can't hardly stand that. If I saw Steve on or something like that, I'd be watching for 30 seconds or a minute. I can't even stand to watch it. I hadn't watched it probably 7 or 8 years, if you want to know the truth.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.